Hi and welcome to a new episode of Pat's Chat. Still locked up in Malaysia here and therefore still doing virtual interviews. And today a guest from Singapore joins me. It's Max Liang. Hi Max, how are you doing today?
Well, great. Having a good time here. Singapore is still not facing a lockdown yet, so hope that it doesn't happen.
Okay, awesome.
How are you?
Yeah, it's okay. Getting used to it. So 2 weeks now, so not too bad. So, Max, you're the managing director of your own company, Max Liang Feng Shui Private Limited. You're a Feng Shui master. However, what is awesomely interesting with you is that you studied biochemistry. And then you worked in as a microbiologist for quite some years until you changed into metaphysics, which you have a lot of experience, 12 years. So I'm really excited to learn your story, how you made that change. And I think everything started like in your childhood when you grew up. Yeah, just share your story of your childhood and as a kid, how you grew up.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Yep. I guess started way back. Came from just a normal average family, and as far as I can remember, when I'm around 6 years old, I started to sense things around me. And I could actually sense energy around me, and it actually freaks me out. In fact, I told my family members, I told my parents, none of them actually believe what I'm talking about things that I can actually sense, but I can't see them, I can't hear them. So most of them would, even my own family members actually consider me to be rather weird. Now, fast forward to that, I'm quite a stubborn kid, all right, and I don't want to dwell too much into it, and I basically just put it aside. I focus on science. I love science. Science is like my life, and I studied the biomedical sciences, medical sciences, and all the way until I graduated with microbiology and biochemistry. So thereafter, I started working, and mostly in the biomedical line. I have done stints in the pharmaceutical. I've done stints in even microscopy, and even started my own business doing probiotics. So everything was all about science. You know, something has to be related to science before I'm actually interested in. So I could be considered quite a nerd in that area.
Okay, interesting.
So
Yeah.
what actually made that change is when in 2007, when my daughter was born. The moment she was born, it was the happiest moment of my life. But just a couple of minutes later, I could actually sense her. I could actually get vibes from her, and I knew that she actually inherited what I have, that sensing capability, that sort of clairvoyance, and that actually, sets me off, shocked, and I was rather scared at that point of time, because I've actually grown up, with that sort of sensing ability, and nobody believes me. I suffered through quite a lot, and I don't want my daughter to suffer with me. So
I mean, it was a
I jumped into metaphysics.
Oh, sorry. I think we just have some delay in the video here. So you're telling me it was like a burden for you growing up with this ability or this sensing that there was something around but you cannot express, or maybe people around did not believe what it was or what you had.
Yes, everybody took my words with a lot of skepticism. They actually doubted me, and even my own family members actually doubted me. So it was rather painful to actually grow up with almost everybody around me doubting that sort of sensing that I have.
Okay, and I mean, your daughter, did she share with you that she has this kind of things? Why you're saying like, okay, you sensed like when she was born directly, okay, she cannot talk to you, but at a later stage, did she like share that with you that she was sensing something like this?
Okay, again, as she was growing up in her infancy, we did realize that she's actually crying quite a lot at night, just like what I was when I was, yeah, an infant. So and the crying actually started in the middle of the night, around 2 o'clock in the morning. And there's actually so much of all these symptoms and signs that actually points to these the sensing capability. And the other thing is that she is able to sense me, and I could actually feel her sensing me. So that is something which is rather direct and rather intimate in that sense.
Okay, I understand.
As she was growing up, she tells me about, when she started to talk, she started to point to places whereby she's like pointing to somebody, but there's totally nobody at all. She's telling me that she's scared of some places which, well, I guess normal people would find it perfectly fine. But I could actually sense it with her. I could actually sense there's something there. Just that
Sure.
is we can't see it, we can't feel it. We basically can't touch it. So that was actually very obvious signs that I have.
Okay, okay. So that was 2007, and you told me like, okay, that's a point where you moved into learning metaphysics, and
Yeah.
maybe you can give us like a rough explanation what is metaphysics, what it means, please.
Okay, metaphysics is basically sciences, natural sciences, which have yet to be proven to be a classical science. All right, it is, even way before Newton comes around. You talk about gravity, why things actually fall to the ground. People will consider that as natural science. That would be considered as metaphysical because there's no explanation for it. All right, until Newton comes along, explain it in terms of gravity, and it becomes a pure science, a classical science. All right, then things like astrology, previously it was also a form of metaphysical science, and people actually look at the stars, look at the planets, and try to make sense of it. But right now we do have astrophysics, which actually looks at the science of planets, the science of stars, and so on. So as we go on and with more understanding, the natural sciences, which we term metaphysical, will gradually be incorporated into the classical sciences.
So you can say something like physics that is not proven yet to be proven.
Yeah.
Like many of the physics have not, well, before someone proved it, right? No one believed it really,
Yeah.
right? As you just
Right.
said. So okay, and I think you mentioned into this thing called WuXing. Which is part of which is a metaphysics or considered a metaphysics.
Okay. When you refer to WuXing, is actually a Chinese term talking about 5 elements. All right, there's actually 5 different elements that we are referring to. Starts with, it comes in a circle. Every single one of them is interdependent. Starts with metal, which actually produces water. Water produces wood. Wood produces fire. Fire produces earth, and earth produces metal back. So it comes in a cycle, which is actually interdependent. And of course, with the production cycle, there comes a destruction cycle as well. All right. So the earth will actually destruct water. Water will destruct fire. Fire. So fire will destruct metal. Metal will destruct metal will destruct wood, and wood will destruct earth. So all these are actually interdependent. They have a creation as well as a destruction within the whole interrelationship itself. So
yeah, just go on. Yeah, sorry, it's again the second delay. Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you. Yeah, just go on, please, Max.
So there is, because of this interrelationship, and it was actually being used in places such as TCM in terms of Feng Shui, and in terms of how our organ structure is actually being related to.
Okay, so that was a good point you just made. So let's move from WuXing to TCM, and that's the traditional Chinese medicine, which is of course quite popular in China and here in Southeast Asia.
Yes,
but I feel it's also like something like more popular in the Western side in Europe. We can hear of that a little bit more now in US also. And TCM is quite a large topic also. I mean, it goes from acupuncture to, I don't know, herbal medicine and cupping therapy and many other things, right? So how does this relate also with the WuXing? And you just mentioned Feng Shui. That's where you're obviously the expert. Can you give us like a bit an overview, a more deep explanation, like how that all interrelates and what you do with that, please?
Okay. Let me just touch on the TCM portion.
Yes, please.
All right. So basically in TCM, the belief is that every single person, every single being, every single organism in this earth actually possesses all the 5 elements. To maintain health, the 5 elements has to be in a balance. So the whole idea about TCM is to create a balance whereby the production cycle as well as the destruction of the elements come together, and it forms a very dynamic equilibrium, something which actually goes on, and it maintains itself. So once the 5 elements are actually maintained, health is actually maintained, and the organism or the being is actually maintained. So that's the whole idea behind TCM. How to bring the treatment of TCM is basically looking at the imbalances in our body, and we basically treat a particular organ or system to actually bring the whole balance back again. So that is the whole idea behind TCM.
Okay. I see. I mean, it's a thing that's not invention of yesterday. So it's several thousand years old, right? So
yes,
and that's probably also the controversy that's around TCM, even still today, right? As we went into this topic, you say also it's like not scientifically proven yet, or there's no proof that this really works, right? Or why it works. So there's a lot of controversy around that. But how you see that? I mean, how do you approach people that say this is like rubbish? I mean, there's very popular people that say it's just rubbish, right? But what is it for you, or how do you convince people that this is really something that makes sense in the end?
I guess for TCM, basically, we still have certain amount of scientific research behind it, and actually there are certain proofs out there that could actually talk about the efficacy of TCM. I guess when people approach such topics, probably it will relate mostly to things like Feng Shui, which we apply all the WuXing into. All right, and because Feng Shui is everything about the energy of the environment, the energy of a person, and looking for the chance and opportunity in terms of timing to create massive results for an individual, for a business, or a corporation. So the suspicion always comes when people don't really see it as something which can work. They are more keen in getting so-called proofs, getting data to actually prove that it works before they would actually believe that it does. So when we approach areas like Feng Shui, basically they have to come in with a very receptive mind, and they have to accept it, on the floor, so that they could actually progress on to take all the necessary actions, take on the necessary modifications to actually bring about all the improvements and all the difference and the growth. So we always have to, when it comes to such situation, we always have to educate. And for my job, I think that probably for me, I have to educate all the time. I have to teach my clients what is it about, what is Feng Shui about, what is metaphysics about, how it could actually help them, what is the whole general theory behind it, and how it could actually bring about the massive differences and improvements that they could actually get from it.
Okay, so I see that you're focusing mostly on Feng Shui, right? So as I mentioned before, TCM is quite a broad topic, right, with many subtopics under it. Are there things that you even yourself you say like, oh, this is like something you would not recommend, that's something that's not working, it's like that's a part I don't like it, or do you say in general, no, we should see it as a whole, and like a combination of it would really make it?
You're perfectly right. We should actually see everything as a combination, as a whole. And we basically adopted different techniques. We look at the person as an individual, what is their characteristics, how they could actually modify themselves, their actions in order to achieve better results as compared to before. We look at the environment and to look at how we could actually improve it, so that the energy actually has a enhancement on every individuals in that particular location to improve either their health, the thinking, the decision making process. And the combination of it actually brings about a more concerted effort in terms of a more concerted action to bring about the results that they want. So just look at it in terms of comparing a torchlight, very diffused, but once you focus all the action and activity into a very tiny path, and you basically get a laser which is much more effective and much more powerful.
Okay, that's a very nice analogy. I like that one. So would you agree that in some areas maybe the placebo effect would be a bigger one than like really a proven result? How can I express this? It's like do something, people believe in it, and therefore it works. Is that something you would agree with, or is that something that you say no, there's nothing to do with placebo at all?
I guess placebo effect is also a good effect.
Oh yeah, okay, it's a good point. It does not necessarily be bad, right? Yeah,
we have actually medical trials and studies that actually compare placebo as well as the real legit medicine. And basically for placebo, you also get generally curing effect from the placebo itself. So that actually points to the fact that the human mind is so much more powerful than anything out there, any kind of medicine out there. Now, I would definitely like to actually look at it in a multitude of direction. The mind working with the action, working with the environment to actually create that sort of results that we're looking for. And if the placebo action really works, and I would gladly accept it.
I like that. I mean, you're fully right. I fully agree with you on this one. I mean, placebo effect is not something necessarily bad, right? I mean, again, if it helps, it's okay. And I even remember, like in my childhood, I had some allergies, right? And my parents would give me some natural droplets or something like that, right? And well, it helped me, right? Until the day later I understood, when they did some experiments or they analyzed scientifically what was really like these droplets. It's like, well, basically it's nothing. It's just water and some things added to it, but it had no scientific like effect. So it was purely placebo, but it helped also.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what I'd like to point to is actually the belief system that everybody actually encompass. And I guess with the right belief, the right action, and the right environment, we could actually create this kind of positive results all the time, and we could actually replicate it. So if it's all, I mean, if it's everything by chance, then we really can't replicate the process over and over again. But in whatever we are doing right now, we manage to replicate successes over and over again for different clients.
Okay. So Max, when we come back to your company that you founded, and you told me that your focus is more the companies, right? So compared to like single person. So can you explain me like how that works? Like how do you integrate feng shui in companies? How can I imagine that this is working? What you're doing?
I guess the whole impetus that actually sets me going for the corporate accounts is basically the KPI is easily measured. All right, whether it's actually return on investment in terms of the revenue, in terms of the profit, it could be clearly measured. And so when I first started, I set upon the corporate sector so that I could actually prove a point. It's easier for me to convince my clients that whatever I'm actually doing actually works. So so targeting is one thing. I target the corporate clients. Now, secondly is that for me, the techniques that I employ, basically, when we look at numerology, we look at face reading, as well as feng shui, the combination of it actually helps me to identify people suitable in terms of their character. What is their character? Whether they could be trusted, whether they are suitable to be in a particular position, a particular occupation, whether a business owner is actually suitable to be involved in a particular business, whether the business direction is actually correct. We could actually give a forecast. What could the possibility be in a few months' time, in a year's time, 2 years' time? And basically, we work with it. And during this period of time, I hold a hand and basically go through the actions to take, and until we reach our target and we see the kind of results that we want. And most of the clients are very happy with the kinds of results that they can actually get. In fact, I've actually done for some companies, we actually turn around a company from in the red, and we turn around the company within half a year. And in 2 years' time, from losing money every month to hitting 20 mil revenue every year. So it is something which is, can be repeated as long as they are with me and we are moving towards the same direction.
Okay, I have two follow-up questions with that. One is, so can you give me like more concrete examples of how that looks like? I think we could touch like feng shui only on the very surface, I know, but from like what I know or I understand or understood is like it. Can I imagine you go to the company and you change like the office setup or like how you arrange the furniture, things like that, or what do you do in these terms?
Okay, and normally I don't really make vast, a redesign of the whole office itself. No, I don't do that. Basically, I'm more inclined towards, looking at the personality of my client. Then we look at the staff which is actually working in that office, and then we look at how we could actually improve the whole process of dealing with the staff, communicating with the staff, redeployment of the staff. So those are the things which is basically the first thing that we do. Secondly is when we go to the office, I would actually, because I can sense energy myself, so physically I sense the energy of the office itself. If it's good, then we enhance it. If it's bad, then we basically have to so-called tune it such that it is much more suitable for people to work in that particular environment. And the first step is basically to look at some placement of certain crystals and some natural products to actually deal with the energy, because how do we adjust the energy in the environment? We basically use crystals as well as some natural products.
Sorry, I get a better picture of that now. Thanks. The second question I had was, you talked about the KPI, how you measure the success of what you do. Is that purely on profit or turnover base, or you measure things like sick leaves or things like that, so you can ensure that people have a healthier life in the work environment also?
Okay, I'm quite surprised that you asked such a question, because yeah, very much depends on what my clients actually wanted. I have actually gotten a client from China who told me that the staff in the company is falling sick, and some of the illness are rather serious, like cancer and heart attacks. So I was actually brought to all the way from Singapore to China, and basically just to look at a factory building. And when I was there, the first thing I got is energy is really bad. Yeah, but what really causes the health effect? And when I look at the whole, I was actually driven around the whole place. It's really big, and I drove around the whole place, and I realized something. They are actually building this high-speed rail, which is going to cut through the land. And at that point of time, because of that massive construction, as well as redevelopment of the area around, it actually causes this energy, which actually so-called affects the health of everybody working. That particular factory actually is a crossroad or a junction, which actually takes in almost all the energy and all the negative energy that's actually hitting around. So what happens is that all the staff actually, most of the staff are actually affected. They either stems with minor sicknesses, or they have all the major sickness. So my client actually asked me to solve that issue. And basically, when I went there, I did adjustment of the office, adjustment of the compound, the whole compound itself, added a few worker features, and it actually brings down the number of cases of MCs or sick leave. So of course, I did not, it's quite impossible to totally eradicate any kind of illnesses, all right? But we could actually bring down the severity of the illness, as well as the number of cases of people falling sick.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think for sure, fascinating story, fascinating topic also. Thank you very much for sharing, and give also like a lot of interesting feedbacks or knowledge to this topic. Maybe my final question will be, well, we're in the middle of the crisis of the corona virus, right? So anything you can recommend or advise people to do to stay healthy, or to make sure they don't get this virus? I mean, besides staying at home like myself.
All right. I do have some feng shui techniques that actually supports health in general, and basically is using 8-stone formation. It would be a little bit difficult to actually talk about it during this discussion. But however, directly on the health of a person, probably in terms of what they can actually take, in my study itself, the COVID virus is considered to be a in water element. And because of that, anybody with weaknesses in terms of their water element will actually succumb to it more seriously. So in order for us to actually build up our health, I do propose taking more ginger, turmeric, and those are the stuff that actually brings more heat and warmth to the liver. That will actually drive the formation of fire in a production cycle. All right.
Okay.
Now, with more fire in the body, that will actually help with suppressing or relieving or reducing the effect of the COVID virus itself. So that is one of my recommendations. But of course, this will probably be related to in general. All right. There are cases whereby people don't really they can't really take too much of this ginger because they feel heaty and they feel unwell, because by taking ginger directly it makes them pretty heaty.
Okay, ginger and turmeric. Thank you so much, Max, for your time. That was really exciting. I really like that. I learned a lot today. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and your insights. Please stay healthy. And I would also like to thank you for watching this episode. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe. And I will also share, of course, the social media of Max, so you can directly engage with him after that.
Okay.
Thank
you so much. Thanks, Patrick, for having me.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. Bye, Max.
This episode was brought to you by Hopnop. Hopnop is a community of like-minded professionals, freelancers, entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, and local influencers that meet monthly at unique venues to network, mix, and mingle. Live networking events are the best way to meet new people in your city and make new connections. Hopnop, your network is your net worth. Grow your circle of influence.